Bienvenidos a el Google Hangout con James Dashner, el autor de la saga Maze Runner. Acá estamos con James en su previa a la gran presentación que va a tener mañana en la Feria Internacional del Libro de Buenos Aires a las 18 horas en la sala Jorge Luis Borges. James llegó hace unos días en Buenos Aires y está full con muchísimas actividades, conociendo a sus fanáticos. Y bueno, ahora esta es la oportunidad para toda Latinoamérica de que tanto lo pedían. Acá tienen al creador de Maze Runner para poder hacerle las preguntas que quieran, charlar con él, los chicos del chat, y acá tenemos algunas cámaras con chicos de distintos países. Si les parece, vamos a empezar a ver a Chile. ¿Dónde está Chile? ¿Cómo están, Chile, Camila?
Buenas noches.
Right? Yeah.
Hello. Hi, ¿cómo está? I love you.
Ok, bueno. Ok, ahora vamos a México, al link de México. ¿Dónde están?
¿Nosotros?
¿Cómo están? Acá están.
Hola.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Bien, bien.
I'm glad you guys have come tonight. Glad to be here.
Un gusto.
You're looking good.
Podemos.
Ahora vamos con Rafael. Rafael y Micaela, de Uruguay. ¿Cómo están, chicos?
Bien, muy bien acá. Ansiosos. Excitados.
Hello, so good to see you guys. I'm glad you could be here. I like the thing in your background.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Looks good, looks good.
Thank you.
Costa Rica.
I love you guys.
¿Cómo está? Ok. Rosario, los chicos de Rosario, el interior de Argentina. Ok, y vamos a Campana, la provincia de Buenos Aires, Matías. Rosario. Ok, vamos a Matías en la provincia de Buenos Aires, Campana.
Hola. No sé qué decir, estoy nervioso.
Okay.
That's okay. It's okay to be nervous. So am I. I'm very nervous.
Ok, bueno chicos, vamos a empezar con las preguntas. Chile, esta es tu oportunidad. Vamos a ver a los chicos de Chile. No. Cami de Chile.
Hello, Chile.
¿Aló?
Oh.
¿Aló?
Chile.
Ya. ¿Qué fue lo primero que creó de la saga?
I started
¿Aló?
thinking about the Maze Runner way back in 2005, and it was very inspired by things like Lord of the Flies and Ender's Game and Lost, the TV show, which is really cool. I love mazes. They're creepy and they're scary and they freak me out. So that's how the story was born.
Bueno, vamos a ver a Lynn de México.
Si estuvieras en el área, ¿qué asignación tendrías?
¿Cómo podés repetir, por favor?
Si estuvieras dentro del área, ¿qué asignación tendrías?
Oh, very good question. Very good question. If I lived inside the glade, I would probably be the dog, bark. No, I think that Minho is my favorite, but I'm not brave enough to be Minho. So I would probably be Chuck, because I would always be scared, and I would always be crying for my mommy, and yeah, I'm Chuck.
Ok. Rafael, de Uruguay, o Micaela, pregunta.
You all look beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Pregunta, ¿tenés pensado escribir un libro contando la historia del grupo B?
You know, a lot of people ask me if I will write more Maze Runner books, and I think that that's probably the #1 idea, is to do it from the viewpoint of Group B, because there's so much to explore with Group B. But I also want to write another prequel from Thomas and Teresa, more about them right before the maze. So there probably will never be a sequel to The Death Cure or La Cure Morta, because that'd be really stupid to have a sequel to that, because everything is finished. But another prequel, and maybe from another viewpoint, like Group B, probably so.
Okay.
I hope you would like that.
Ok, James. Ahora te vamos a hacer algunas preguntas porque durante todo este tiempo los chicos estuvieron enviando preguntas a través de la página de la Embajada de los Estados Unidos, que creó especialmente para este Google Hangout, a través del email oficial de la saga Maze Runner en Latinoamérica. Y entre las preguntas tenemos a Lulu Brito, que quiere saber qué fue lo que más te gustó de Argentina hasta ahora.
It's been a big thrill for me to visit Argentina, and it's my first time to Latin America or to South America. And just in case you're wondering, I do not understand Spanish. I have a very lovely person translating to me. But I'm going to learn Spanish, I promise. I promise. Okay. But Argentina, the people are so amazing. They are full of passion, and they have shown me so much love and genuine sincerity, and they've made me feel so welcome, like a family. And so the people, and also the food, because I love to eat.
Okay. Vamos a seguir con Costa Rica.
Si estuvieras en el mundo de Maze Runner, ¿serías Crank o Mooney?
¿Puedes repetir, Ana? Victoria.
¿Serías Crank o Mooney?
Si estuviera en el mundo de Maze Runner, ¿qué sería?
Inmune. Ah, okay. So if you were to live in time,
So would I be a crank? Yeah, Muni. Well, hopefully I would be a Muni, because I don't want to catch the flare, but it would kind of be cool to be a crank and run around ripping people's noses off, and but yeah, I'd rather be a Muni.
Nehuen de Rosario.
Sí. Nuestra pregunta era, ¿por qué elegiste la idea de la llamarada como catástrofe habiendo tenido tantas ideas apocalípticas a disposición?
Very good question, young man. Very good question. I have always been fascinated by insanity. How do you say that in Spanish?
Insanidad.
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 Insanidad. Insanidad. Insanidad. I think it's, I love psychology. I love thinking about the mind and how the mind works. And I didn't want it to be like other apocalyptic stories. So I thought, sun flares have not been used very much. And instead of a flu-like virus or zombies or anything like that, I thought, what if there was a disease that just made people go absolutely, totally insane? And that really, really scares me and creeps me out. So that's why I chose the flare and that disease.
Thank you.
Okay. Miguel de México.
Girl from Mexico.
Bueno, nuestra pregunta es un poco más enfocada hacia la adaptación del libro hacia la película y es, ¿qué tan difícil fue adaptar el libro de Maze Runner a la pantalla grande?
All the people on planet Earth, I am the most excited about the movie. It's been a dream of mine my whole life, and because I love movies, I grew up loving movies, and when I wrote The Maze Runner, I envisioned it as a movie in my head and tried to convert that to words. And so when 20th Century Fox agreed to turn my book into a movie, I was very excited, but also very nervous, because sometimes books have been made into really, really bad movies. But luckily for me and for all of us who like The Maze Runner, 20th Century Fox and the writers and director Wes Ball and the producers like Wick Godfrey and the Gotham Group and then the cast, the actors, they all just matched my vision perfectly. And for me, it's been very easy. I didn't do all the hard work, but I've been very, very happy with what they've done, and I promise you, you are going to love the movie. You're going to love it.
Ahí está la emoción de los chicos. Agustina, a través de la página de la Embajada de los Estados Unidos, quiere saber cuál es tu personaje favorito de la saga y por qué.
Okay, this is a very, very common question. Who is my favorite? Some people love Newt. Some people love Minho. I think my favorite is Minho, and that's because he's funny. He's a smart aleck. He's reckless. He sometimes he does stupid things, but he's always fiercely loyal to Thomas. And as a reader, I don't think we ever doubt his loyalty. I also love Newt, but Newt is more mysterious. And Newt, I think, takes time to develop and you fall in love with him over time. But my personal favorite is Minho.
Ok, vamos a seguir con algunas preguntas de la red. Desde el mail de la saga Maze Runner, José Arturo Aguilera pregunta: ¿qué es la cosa más importante que has aprendido en tu carrera como escritor?
Okay, the most important thing I've learned is to be nice to my fans. It's a joke. It's a joke. The most important thing I've learned is that the thing that matters most in a book, or a movie, or a TV show, or theater, is that you care about the characters. If you don't fall in love with your characters, then you don't really care if they die, or if they get squished, or if their head gets chopped off. You have to create characters that people will root for and relate to and identify with. So I've really tried to get better at developing my characters.
Ok, ahora vamos a Campana, que está Matías.
Okay.
Ahí se escucha, ¿no? Una cosa que surge bastante entre los fans es si el libro se cataloga como distópico o un libro más post-apocalíptico.
You know, Matthias, I've also wondered that myself. This is the honest truth, and this may make me look not so smart. Before I wrote The Maze Runner, I had never heard the word dystopian before. I had heard of utopia, but not dystopia. So never once did I think about, ooh, I'm going to write a dystopian novel. But I've always loved post-apocalyptic things, like probably none of you have heard of this. It's a very old movie, but Mad Max and Road Warrior from when I was a little kid. And you know, Independence Day and all these things that show a ruined world in the future. So that's more what I was thinking of as I wrote the book. So I think the obvious question to your answer is I consider it post-apocalyptic, not dystopian, because dystopia is more about evil governments and forcing citizens to do certain things, where in the Maze Runner the whole world is just ruined, and there's barely even a government in the first place. So that's a very long answer to say apocalyptic.
Ok, antes de seguir con Chile, vamos a ir a otra de las preguntas que nos están llegando ahora. Los chicos no dejan de mandar preguntas. Y Rodrigo pregunta: ¿qué harías si tuvieras la llamarada?
If I had the flair, the first thing I would do is eat Leo for dinner. No, if I had the flair, I would first I would think, oh, this is kind of cool. I have the flair. And then I would think, oh crap, I have the flair. This is not good. And then I would I would go to Wicked headquarters, and I would say, you know, that whole experiment you're doing with being really mean to people, keep doing it, because I want you to find a cure before I go crazy. So that was a terrible answer, but that's my answer.
That's okay. Vamos con Camila de Chile.
Now, let's go Camila from Chile.
¿Cómo te enfrentarías tú contra un penitente?
The grievers. The grievers. They are very nasty, and here's the honest truth. The honest truth. If I saw a griever, I would scream like a little girl and run the other direction. And then I would, once it caught me, I would continue screaming like a little girl, and then I would try to play dead and hope that it lost interest in me. And if that didn't work, I guess I would just die.
Ok, acá hay otra pregunta muy interesante que nos llega. ¿Qué nos puedes decir sobre la banda de sonido de la película?
Who asked that?
No tengo el nombre, pero ¿quién sabe sobre la banda de sonido?
I don't know who asked.
Thank you for asking that question. This is one of the things that I am most excited about in regards to the movie. I have really enjoyed the other young adult type movies like Hunger Games, Divergent, other stuff, Twilight, Harry Potter. But what I really want, what am I trying to say here, Leo? Hold on. Okay. So in the Maze Runner, let me start over. I was worried about the Maze Runner having a soundtrack with a bunch of pop music. I love pop music. I love bands. I love Imagine Dragons. I even love a song by One Direction. Okay? But it does not fit the mood of the Maze Runner. I really, really did not want a soundtrack full of pop music. So I was extremely happy when one of the first conversations I had with the director, Wes Ball, he said, James, we are going to have a full orchestral epic score of music. Because he was very inspired by movies like Jurassic Park and Star Wars, which had just amazing music that's unforgettable. And this made me very happy. And the composer for the movie, his name is John Paisano. And he's very young, and but he's brilliant. And 20th Century Fox flew me to California when they recorded the music for the movie. And they had 72-person orchestra. They had a full choir. They had a whole day where they recorded drums. And just let me tell you, the soundtrack for the movie is spectacular. You will never forget it, and I guarantee you will all want to own the music. It is really, really powerful. So I can't wait for you to hear it.
Sí. Ok, vamos a volver a México, que México no dejan de decir que te aman, que te quieren mucho. Aline.
Geográficamente, al terminar la cura mortal, ¿dónde terminan? ¿Dónde quedan en alguna parte en específica del mundo?
Somewhere especially in the world?
First of all, hola Mexico. Did you know that in my mind, the Scorch Trials happens in Mexico? So that's kind of cool. But at the end, of La Cura Mortal, my Spanish is beautiful. I don't want to spoil the books, but it's a real place in the world, a very small island. And by the time they figure out how to get off the island, then hopefully the flare will have wiped out around the world and they can start all over. So, yeah.
Okay. Acá nos llega una pregunta desde Perú, bastante interesante. Tomás, ¿tiene alguna relación de parentesco con Mark y con Trina?
Very interesting question. For those of you who have read the prequel, Viru Lita, The Kill Order, that book means a lot to me. I worked very hard on it, and I knew that people would resist because it was not about Thomas and Teresa, but I wanted to tell that story, and Mark and Trina and Alec and Dee Dee became very important to me. You need to know that Thomas, I always worry about spoilers. Thomas is no relation to Mark and Trina, but Dee Dee, should I just say it?
Yeah.
Dee Dee is Teresa. So Mark and Trina send Dee Dee through the flat trans, and they take her and realize, oh, people are immune to this disease. And she is a spark for them starting the whole trials process.
Bueno, vamos a volver a Uruguay. Mica, Rafael andan por ahí.
Mica, Rafael, are you there?
Chicos, pregunto.
Bien. ¿Hay algún actor que sea como lo imaginabas cuando lo estabas escribiendo?
Any actor that looks, the way you imagine they would look when you were writing the book, the percentage of that.
You know, whenever I talk about the movie, I worry that people think I'm just saying things so that the movie will do well. But all I can do is say the honest truth. The cast for The Maze Runner could not be more perfect, in my opinion. Some of them may have looked a little different in my mind. For example, Will Poulter, who plays Gally. I think I imagined him differently, but he has done such an amazing job playing the character of Gally that he has completely 100% become Gally in my mind. And but Dylan O'Brien, and I'm sure you're all screaming right now, Dylan O'Brien is definitely Thomas in my head, which reminds me, people always say in the book Thomas was supposed to be ugly, so why is Dylan O'Brien playing Thomas? And I said, no. In the book, Chuck tells Thomas that he's ugly. That doesn't mean he's actually ugly. What 12-year-old boy is going to say, "My Thomas, you are so handsome. You are such a good-looking young man"? No, the book never says that Thomas is ugly. Only Chuck. And Chuck's just a bratty little kid, so who cares what he says? But the characters, I could not be happier with the casting for this movie. And when the movie comes out, you will know what I'm talking about. It is going to blow you away. I honestly believe that The Maze Runner will, the movie will be remembered for a long time. It will not be forgotten. That's my very strong opinion.
Okay.
Rosario,
Thank you.
Up to you.
¿quién quiere preguntar?
Who wants to ask a question?
Sí. ¿Te inspiraste en algún conocido, ya sea físicamente o psicológicamente, para crear alguno de los personajes de la saga?
¿O podés repetir, por favor?
¿Te inspiraste en algún conocido, ya sea físicamente o psicológicamente, para crear alguno de los personajes de la saga?
Ah, está buena la pregunta.
Yes.
None of my characters are really based on individual people. Excuse me. Don't ever burp on worldwide TV. I'm good. So, but by the same token, every character is influenced by every person I've ever known, every person I've ever met, and that all comes into my brain and gets processed, and then it comes out into my characters, little bits and pieces, but no one is directly translated from another person.
Ana Victoria, en Costa Rica.
Victoria in Costa Rica.
Bueno, en toda la saga se emplean palabras que no existen, como larcho y crank. ¿En qué se inspiró para crear esas palabras?
Crank, shank. Where did you get your inspiration to invent those?
Yes, that has been a very fun part of this story. What's interesting is in my very first draft of the Maze Runner, it did not have those words. But I had a very good friend tell me that their language needed to have a different feel and flavor to it because it's a different time and a different place. So I agreed with her, and I came up with some of those words. And so that was one purpose. The other purpose was it's a very harsh environment in the maze, and I didn't want people to say, gee, darn golly, there's a griever coming. But I also wanted my book to be available to middle schools, high schools, everyone. And so it was a good way to have them sometimes say pretty harsh words without using real harsh words like, dropping the F-bomb or whatever. Yeah.
Vamos a Campana, Matías.
Ahí está. Ahí
Mati,
está.
no se escucha.
¿Cuál
Ahí.
fue la situación más awkward o rara que te sucedió con algún fan?
Which was the most awkward and
So you're asking about my fans and awkward situations or experiences. Honestly, nothing is jumping in my head. It's all been very positive. I've never been threatened, except as a joke. Sometimes people say, "Why did you kill this person? I'm going to kill you." And then they say, "Never mind, I love you, I love you." It's been very positive. I think, again, this is my honest opinion. I think the Maze Runner fandom is special. I never see the negativity or cruelty or fighting that I've seen in other fandoms. And we always say it on Twitter and Facebook that we're a family. that we love each other, and I try really hard to encourage my fans to never fight with other fandoms, because that's just silly. We all love to read. We all love movies. You know, no book has to be better than this other book. So when you ask that question, I literally cannot think of one negative experience that I've had with a fan. That's the honest truth.
Bueno, volvemos a México con Miguel.
Bueno, nuestra pregunta es la siguiente. Si en The Kill Order no hubiera tenido ese final, ¿con quién se hubiera quedado Thomas? ¿A quién hubiera elegido si no hubiera tenido ese final? ¿A Brenda o a Teresa?
Death Cure.
Ah, sí, Death Cure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So, Teresa or Brenda?
Yes.
It's very important for me to point out that I never intended for there to be a love triangle. The Maze Runner is just—it's not the type of story that romance plays a big part. But you know, there's too much going on, too much danger. However, everyone in the books, they are human, and it's natural to have relationships when there's other humans involved. So my goal is for Thomas and Teresa to have a special connection, which I will explore further if I write another prequel. But I never wanted it to necessarily be obviously romantic. I wanted it to be a mystery. Their relationship is extremely complicated, and I tried to express that at the very end. The last thing that Teresa says to Thomas, I thought represented the complication of their relationship. And Brenda, she comes into Thomas's life at such a crazy time, and so many crazy things happen after they meet, that I think Thomas is too traumatized and too shocked to understand his feelings at all about anyone, much less this person he just met. So at the end of the whole series, I think that Thomas needs a lot of time before he could ever even consider that decision. In some ways, the books have made the decision for him, but who knows what will happen. I mean, I don't think it's set in stone that Thomas and Brenda are necessarily, you know, they have to go on a date first, right? See what happens.
Okay. Bueno, Chile, ¿quién quiere preguntar?
Who wants to ask questions in Chile?
Chile, ¿están por ahí?
Chile, are you there?
Ok, vamos a seguir con...
Hola, no, estamos aquí.
Están ahí. Es un poquito de desesperación, no se vayan. Ok, pregunten, chicos.
There you go.
James, si tu mejor amigo tuviese la llamarada y te dijera que lo matases, ¿qué harías tú?
If your best friend had the flare and they asked you to kill him, what would you do?
Oh, what a cruel, mean question. I'm just kidding. I think that the scene that you are referring to is by far the hardest scene that I've ever planned or written. I can't imagine anything more difficult than what Newt asked Thomas to do. So for me, let's say Leo, my new friend Leo. If Leo had the flare and Leo asked me to kill him, I would say, absolutely, yes, where's the gun? No. I mean, oh yeah. And then Leo would be dead. And we'd have to bury him. No, if that is a very, very, very hard decision. Which, all joking aside, it relates to stuff like, you know, real-world problems like, I don't know if you understand, euthanasia, a very, very controversial subject. You know, if you love somebody and they had a very bad disease and they were suffering, you know, it's a moral dilemma. I don't know if there's a right or wrong. It's very. My favorite thing about the Maze Runner, and one of my biggest intentions, one of my main goals for this series, was that nothing is black or white. Everything is gray. By the end, you know, so many of the decisions that are made by Wicked, by Thomas, by the Rat Man, by everyone, I want you to be able to see both sides of the story. I never wanted any decision to be obvious. And that's why I used the phrase, wicked is good. It's two words that are complete opposites. And yet, we're saying a phrase that makes them equal. And I think that is very symbolic of the whole series, that nothing is black or white. We cannot say that wicked is pure evil, because they are trying to save the human race. We can't say that they're pure good because they're doing some really bad things to these kids. So what is it? I don't know. It's for you to decide.
Ok, antes de seguir con las preguntas, Latinoamérica te quiere escuchar decir queridos larchos.
Wants to hear you saying queridos larchos. Queridos larchos.
Okay, you ready? Okay, we're ready. Queridos larchos.
Oh, great.
Queridos larchos. For some reason, I can't roll my R right now. Are you supposed to roll the R? You say it. Queridos larchos. Queridos larchos.
That was great. Okay. ¿Están contentos ahí, queridos larchos?
Are you happy with your James Dashner's queridos larchos? Larchos uttering?
Ok, vamos
You
a...
better be.
Bueno, volvemos a México con Aline.
Sí. Dijiste muy bien, queridos larchos.
Very well.
¿En qué te basaste? ¿En qué te basaste para crear a Cruel?
So, what inspiration did you find, or how did you get inspired to create Wicked?
Yes, it was a lot of fun for me to create Wicked. I wanted them at first to seem very, very evil. But as the story develops, I wanted you to start to have empathy for them and understand why they're doing this. I always use an example that's it's very morbid, but it's based on an old story. If you had an entire city of people, say, you know, New York City, and if you could kill one person and save the rest of the city, you know, you'd have to at least think about that. If everyone's going to die, then why is it bad for a few people to die so that everyone else can live? And it's another one of those things that it's gray, it's not black or white. So I don't know if something very specific inspired Wicked. You know, it is probably the TV show Lost contributed to it. The old book 1984, which is a book that I love, and Lord of the Flies, it didn't really have anyone like Wicked, but something about the tone of that book and inspired it. So hopefully I answered your question somewhat.
Ok, hablando de lo que es bueno y lo que es malo y de las muertes, nos preguntan si decidiste matar a algunos personajes, no vamos a decir quiénes, para los que no leyeron la saga completa, a fin de que la saga, de que quizás los libros sean más interesantes, o cuál fue el objetivo de incluir las muertes. Which was the goal?
Yes. People died in these books. It's a very tough story. They live in a very tough world, and I thought that it would not be very genuine if people didn't die. Looks like you guys are having a lot of fun in Mexico. But a huge reason that there's one or two deaths in the first book is because I wanted to set up that you could never assume that someone is safe. I wanted, by having a main character die, then you knew for the rest of the books that at any point someone could die, so it increases the suspense. So that's why I do it. I've never killed anyone in real life, not even once.
Ok, vamos a Uruguay. Rafael, Mica.
Uruguay, Rafael, Mica, where are you?
Ahí está.
Uruguay.
Uruguay. Bueno, pregunta, ahí está.
¿Ahí?
Sí.
Ahí está.
Ah, ¿pregunta de nuevo?
Sí.
¿Te acordás qué hacías exactamente cuando se te ocurrió la historia?
Do you remember what you were doing the day you had this first burst to write the Maze Runner?
Yes, I do. It was 2005. I was going to bed at nighttime. I was in my bed, and often at that time my mind starts churning. And that very night I thought of all these things that inspired the Maze Runner, and you know, I thought, okay, future, teenagers in an experiment, this giant maze, and it's crazy how all these ideas flew into my head. And I actually got out of bed and went downstairs and got my notebook and just started writing everything that was going into my head. And that first night, I would say that like 75% of the plot of the Maze Runner series came to me that night. It was pretty awesome.
Thank you.
¿Por qué hablas así?
Ana Victoria en Costa Rica.
Silenciame, por favor.
Costa Rica.
Ana Victoria, no se te escucha, Ana Victoria. Ok, Ok, vamos a Rosario con Nehuen.
Rosario, Nehuen.
Hola.
Ahí estamos.
Hola.
Ah,
Lo que nos pasó fue que todas las preguntas que teníamos ya las respondieron, y se nos fueron todas las dudas. Y queríamos, o sea, surgieron dos chiquitas, que es si alguna vez pensó en que su saga iba a tener tanta repercusión como la que tiene
éxito.
hoy en día, tanto éxito.
Sí.
You know, ever since I was a little boy, this teeny little boy, I loved books, I loved movies, I loved storytelling, and I've always dreamed of becoming an author. And when I really got serious about it and wrote books, I dreamed that it would become very popular. I hoped that it would become very popular. But honestly, I never, ever could have imagined that it would get this big. The Maze Runner is now in 34 languages. We have a movie coming out. I have so many amazing fans all over the world. It means so much to me. It touches me. I will never, ever take it for granted. I'm very thankful for all of you. It's just crazy. I can't believe it. So thank you for liking my books. I appreciate it.
Ok, tu encuentro con Rick Jordan es un suceso para los latinos y quieren saber si es tu mejor amigo, Rick Jordan.
Oh, yes. 2 weeks ago, for the first time in my life, I met Rick Riordan, the author of Percy Jackson. He's such a great guy. He's even though he is massively popular, has sold millions and millions of copies, he acted just like a normal dude. He was very nice. We had a great talk. We did an event together. He's definitely one of my favorite people now.
Ok. Otra pregunta, ¿a qué personaje te pareces más?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Of all my characters, who do I look like? Well, I definitely don't look like Thomas, because that's Dylan O'Brien. I think I look like Chuck. I don't know. I've never thought about that. Maybe I look like Teresa. I don't know.
All right. Bueno, Miguel en México, ¿estás por ahí?
Aquí estamos.
Ok.
Hola, Miguel.
¿Qué tal? Bueno, muchos de los fanáticos de la saga han creado fan arts. ¿Qué opinas de los fan arts que han creado los larchos?
About the fan arts that the Shanks have created.
Oh, you have no idea how much I love the fan art. It's one of my favorite things, and when people send it to me on Twitter or Facebook, I always see it. If I don't see it, or I don't respond at first, or if I don't retweet it, you know, I might have missed it. So try again. But it's definitely one of my favorite things. I can't believe how talented so many of you are. I have seen some amazing artwork. You know, one of my favorites is the creatures in the Scorch Trials that someone did. that I actually shared with the people at 20th Century Fox. I've seen dozens and dozens, hundreds of fan art, and number one, I think it's so cool that people are taking the time to do it, and number two, I'm just really impressed. So please, if you ever do fan art, send it to me on Twitter or Facebook, and I will try to show it to everyone else and respond, but I love it. I love it.
Ok. I Feel the Rush a través de la página de la Embajada de los Estados Unidos. Quiere saber, ¿cómo te sentirías si Cruel te borrara la memoria y fueras enviado al área?
Okay, I think that was the last question. If Wicked captured me and wiped out my memory, then I wouldn't remember, so I don't know what I would do. Just kidding. I would be very upset. I would. I think that memories are such a, and this is obvious, but memories are such a huge part of what we are. And I discovered that as I tried to write The Maze Runner. It was really hard to develop the characters without relying on their memories. And that taught me a lesson that, you know, without our memories and our experiences, we lose a huge part of what we are. So that became a major theme in the Maze Runner stories. So if I had my memory wiped, I would not be happy. I'd not be happy, but then I would forget, so it's kind of weird. I don't know. Okay, oh, one more.
Mati, la última pregunta porque ya nos estamos quedando sin tiempo.
Bueno, esta tiene que ver con la película. ¿Cuál fue tu primera reacción cuando te dijeron que Maze Runner iba a ser película? Cuando, no sé, si levantaste el teléfono y te dijeron que va a ser película, ¿cómo fue la cosa?
Well, it kind of happened twice, because the first time I was in a bookstore and my agent called me and said that Fox has optioned your film. And this was like 4 years ago. And I had to go outside because I was so excited, and none of my friends or family were with me, so I just kind of smiled really big and walked around like a goofy, crazy person. And then, but then it took a while before it got started, and about 2 years later, I was skiing in the mountains near where I live, and I got another phone call, this time from the producers, who said, okay, we're serious, we're going to start filming the movie. We want you to read the script, we want you to be part of the family, we want you involved. And sometimes you get so excited that you get quiet. And I remember I went to my car and just sat there for a long time, so emotional that I was just kind of like a zombie, just sitting there. It's the greatest thing that's happened in my career, so I'm very thankful.
Ok, chicos, bueno, lamentablemente nos quedamos sin tiempo, pero antes vamos a decirles algunas cosas. Recuerden que mañana James va a estar presentándose en la Feria Internacional del Libro de Buenos Aires a las 18 en la sala Jorge Luis Borges. Prepárense porque va a haber muchísimas sorpresas que sé que les van a encantar. También les cuento de que salió a la venta la nueva edición de Maze Runner, la versión con la portada de la película, así que la van a poder adquirir. También queremos agradecer a todas las personas que hicieron esto posible, a la Embajada de Estados Unidos, a Matías Fuente de Google, de que estuvo acá en el backstage controlando que todo salga bien, bueno, y obviamente a James por estar acá con nosotros, por cumplirle el sueño a todos los fans de Latinoamérica de poder charlar con vos y tener un rato y ver a la mente maestra detrás de Maze Runner. Así que chicos, los esperamos todos mañana va a poder estar con James, sacarse una foto, les van a firmar el libro y recuerden, las 18 en la sala Jorge Luis Borges en la Feria del Libro.
Please come, it will be fun. Leo will be with me, Maria will be with me. Fox has surprises, it's going to be amazing. But But those of you who can't come, I'm sorry. I love you, and I hope to visit you someday. Thank you.